Good morning, gorgeous ladies, gorgeous human beings. Is Michael on today? Gorgeous human beings of the Matrix. I apologize for my tardiness this morning. Calls have just been running into each other these last couple of days. Been running. Okay, so today we're going to jump in right away with the 4 people who didn't get a chance to come on yesterday. We're going to jump right in, and then depending on how much time we have left, because I would like, it is Cassie, then I would like to move into marketing if we have some space, but I will be finishing on time so that I'm not running late into late. Just trying to get all my calls in order. I love you. Okay, so the first person was Catarina, I think, from yesterday that we didn't get a chance to finish with. I just want to say also, Jacqueline told me the Voxer's on fire and you guys are all like giving each other ideas and stuff in there. So that's awesome. Now, this is where the mastermind really starts to get loads of value, is when the participants start to really connect in that way. So that's really amazing. So let's have Catarina.
Hello.
I love this background, the flowers, the things. Oh my gosh.
It was so nice this time. My business didn't need to buy me flowers. You did. So I'm like freaking out. I've been sharing in the Voxer group. I'm just feeling all the energy. And I was like jumping up and down this morning and just like letting it move through all the waves and all the things. And then I just found out, well, Maya's like literally on her way to where I live right now. So we're gonna have a Portugal gathering. And so that was right before the call. So I'm like, my emotional wave is high. So just wanted to sprinkle that out. Okay. Okay, I really wanted to explore my brand because, yeah, I feel like the marketing I got down and advertising I can figure out, and I've done it in the past, but I felt like when my message is super clear and I know where I'm directing people, it's like, okay, I reach out to all the things, I can get on the podcast, the stages, like it happens. But when I'm not clear on like what I'm drawing people into, then I'm kind of like a bit in limbo and hide more. So I feel like I've been in a void and it's becoming clear. And so I want to develop the brand aspect more and get some of your reflections and genius around that, because I feel like when I'm clear on that, it's like gonna get really boomtastic. So
is your issue in the branding or the advertising?
It feels like the branding, because here's the thing, I'm not a big visions person. Like I work with visionaries, so they've got the vision, and then I literally come down and like, okay, honey, that's beautiful, let's ground it and action it. And so like I've owned that. I'm like very integrator energy. However, with this musical piece that's been landing and just all the creativity that's been like bubbling up in the last 2 or 3 years, with, you know, going hermit mode and also completing my marriage and all the things, it's just like exploding out. And now it's like the vision is like you know, I don't need to come up with it. It's like coming through me. And so I'm just like in a full surrender to that. And so I think in the past, in the business aspect, like I haven't really had to have a big vision. Like people kind of like they appear, they come to me. It hasn't been like a big numbers thing, because it doesn't need to be. It's more just like high level, like I work through leverage. So just a few people, they have huge audiences, huge followings, and that's how I feel like my impact flows. But now it's like I need to like get on up there and like show myself for this new frequency to flow. So yeah, so I think the branding does matter more and the positioning. And yeah, I feel like the advertising is secondary now, because like I get how it works. I like also help others do that. Like I understand it. Whereas the branding is like new to me. Like I've never felt like creatively inspired. And I think that's one of the things that I've loved about being an AFE is just to like see the visuals and the music and all the things coming together, has been super activating for me. So yeah, it feels like the branding piece. It's also like what I'm more excited about, and I just haven't really spent time thinking about before.
Have you ever thought about what you represent? Like, what is it that if there was a way to tell people real fast, like this is all the things that you are about, would you be able to say?
Yes.
What are those things?
Love in motion, embodied, leadership, through activating miracles. Like literally, I think this whole thing started when I was standing around a fire with a bunch of women in Sedona, and we were like casting intentions under the full moon, and they were all like, I want my business to blow up, I want my house to blow up. And I just had this like, I was like, I'm just like, this is it, this is the moment. That's usually how I live. And so I was like, I don't know. And then I just opened my mouth, and like what came out was just like I am the Empress of Light. I am the Queen of Miracles. When I snap, miracles happen. And I teach others to do it too. And like, since that moment, it's just like miracles all over the place. It's like the thing. And so I've just been reorienting my, my understanding of the work that I do, which is like, you know, yes, the leadership, yes, the strategy, yes, all the things, like we can figure out all those things. But it's like, that's my zone of excellence. And weirdly, oddly enough, it's like my zone of genius is like in the energy and literally just being a field for miracles. So like have people just being like, I want you at my event just to be there. Like, I just want that energy there with me. And so it's like really weird for me to process that way. So I think that's like what, yeah, it's like that's been kind of the identity work of me, and also of the work itself and the offering that I've been processing. And so what happened
I'm gonna take what we've said, because there's actually quite a lot. Okay. So what happens with branding is the idea is to capture energetically what you think about. And so what I'm getting from you is that when you get into a role, you have trains of thought that can take you so far that you miss your own magic. Because you talk and you're saying all these perfect things, and then you keep talking and then you go somewhere else. But everything you were saying was on the right track. Like when you watch this replay and you listen to the words that you were saying, you'll see you actually answered the question, but then you just went so far beyond the question. And you might do this in your own life. You'll start talking, you'll be right on the money, and then some inspiration will kick in and you'll go in another direction. You leave all the gold behind. So the idea in the branding is to really capture the essence of the miracles, the essence of the love in motion, the leadership. Like, how do I represent that in all the senses? This is how branding really works. So love in motion, what are all the ways that I can capture that? And you would brainstorm, what are all the ways I can capture love in motion? What I love is like when I click, when I snap, miracles happen. I can see you using that in your branding. It could be a thing where you have reels where every time a client does something spectacular, they send you a video of themselves living their best life. You take a white screen or whatever, and like the client who said what she desired was this, and then you just click your fingers and it's your client shows up living the thing they wanted to manifest with you. Like I could see that being a thing. It's a white background, you click, their dreams coming true. Like that could be part of your branding. It's like you're showcasing what the miracle was, you're snapping your fingers, the miracles come. You've got that quote, when I snap, miracles happen. And you're looking for ways to really embody. You're either speaking about leadership, or you're capturing leadership in your photography and your videography, or you're posting beautiful things that represent you. Like if flowers, you said this week, my company didn't need to buy me flowers, you did. So I'm guessing flowers are a big part of what you love. So, you've got pictures of flowers, but there's a reason, there's a story behind them. Maybe you have a photo shoot with some of your clients around a fire and you talk about the first time this came through for you, or it's just, you want to represent energetically, emotionally, visually, through the senses. How do you represent all the things you stand for? That's the brand. Because the idea is when people get to your page and they look at your page, they get to feel the vibe, get the sense of what you do without having to read a million texts. They just get it. It's like, okay, there's the snap, there's the miracles, there's the beauty, there's the leadership, there's the love, and you're going to start to see your brand come alive. So you want to brainstorm, and this is something that you guys can all do together in the Voxer, and this is how you get to support each other and get creative, is like, how do you see the visual representation of leadership for me? How do you see the visual representation, or the video, a video or a picture or an image or a text or a concept or a reel? Like, let's brainstorm, because that's what the branding becomes about.
Yeah.
So you just keep thinking of all the things you want to represent in your branding. What's everything you stand for? Like for me, feminine energy, leadership, love, romance, wealth, luxury, vision, celebration, gratitude. Like these are all the things that need to be represented in my brand, and I'm looking for ways to visually and energetically, emotionally connect to those things and bring them in my way, through my eyes, into my brand. And that's how Alpha Femme gets curated.
Yeah, I feel like now I've done that, but linked to specific offers, so I'm kind of like, okay, what season am I in? And then I'll do that, but linked to a specific offer, but I haven't dropped them there with the intentionality of it being like branding, I was wearing like a different hat.
It was more of a marketing hat at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool to do that. But what's awesome is to say, like, between each launch, you have this gorgeous content that just repositions yourself as all that you are. And then when you know where you're going, you move it in the direction of where you're going. And then between launches, you land again as who you are and what the brand stands for. And then whoop, you steer it again. But ultimately, the branding could just pivot from launch to launch. It could just pivot from whatever you're selling next, but you'd still want to find the visual representation for each thing. Like if your offer's about wealth, the miracles you're snapping might all be a house, a trip, like, an amount of money that they've manifested. It's like you're all the things you're doing are in alignment with that. And then next thing, it's more about love. While you're snapping relationships, a pregnancy, you're snapping, you're changing the energy of what you're celebrating based on the offer, but it's still the same concept. The brand is the visual, emotional, energetic representation of the concepts, thoughts, images, things that you hold together in your brand, so people can experience them fast when they fall on your page.
Okay. And I think part of the cohesiveness that I think about is the people coming, and just because the offers are so, there's a lot of difference in terms of like, some of the offers are like, they've got 7-figure businesses and they just want like to hand over their business to me for a month while they go on vacation, like that's one client. Whereas the others are like starting off in business. And so it's like a different leadership conversation. And so do I just kind of speak to one in the season that I'm in, or just speak to the themes and then trust that from all walks of life and business stages, they will find me. Is that like, because
So
also the music, you know, I'm about to also launch a music piece. And so I think that one will be like more numbers and more eyeballs, but not necessarily more people buying. So I think it's like trying to be like, yes, I want to like release into, you know, there's a very like feminine aspect to the work as well, but it's like, actually, it's like about the both. And so it's like, how do I also maintain that the masculine side and the business and the leadership side also from that perspective, because I talk about like management and stuff too. So it's like,
do you follow my Alpha Femme account?
yes.
And do you kind of follow all my teachings in the sense where you see all the different topics I talk about?
Mhm.
Can you see how they all still come together on that page somehow?
Yeah. Mhm.
That's what the brand will do.
Okay.
And the advertising kind of puts you in front of the right people for the right reason. So let's say you're going with a theme, but then you're going to go and advertise on a podcast where it's more people who have a certain level of success versus people who are more the masses, versus that's going to position you. And then your marketing is going to change who you're marketing to versus if the offer is for a beginner or if the offer is for a person who's more advanced. So this is where a lot of us get stuck, is we take all the conversations and we try to jam them into one thing. So right now, when we're talking about branding, you could use the same branding to represent whatever you wanted. Like my branding isn't less on point if I'm doing a free thing than a $10,000 thing. It's not less on point if it's $100 thing or a $5,000 thing. Everything I'm doing has the same thing. It's the same quality. And so your brand is like the quality of your representation. So whatever it is that you're advertising has better quality because of the brand, and whatever you're marketing has nothing to do necessarily. You can use the branding to market a very inexpensive thing, and you can use the branding to market a not expensive thing. Like you get to play with that once we get into those conversations. But for now, what you want to play with, if we're looking at brand, is just the visual representation, the energetic, how do you showcase the energy of this? And then through the advertising and the correct platforms, through the marketing and your copy, you'll be able to really explain who it is that you're really talking to for each specific offer.
Okay, and that's where I kind of tweak it. So if it's like one podcast, I can talk about management and miracles, whereas another one I'm talking about, you know, whatever is relevant for their audience, but always coming back to like the unifying theme.
Yeah. And what's amazing is because Instagram has all those like highlights, if you wanted to have a management highlight or a, you know, beginner business, advanced business, you can kind of place your highlights in a certain way where people are like, oh, I'm going to go here if I'm just beginning in my business. I'm going to go here if I want something more advanced, or I'm going to go here if I want to talk about management, and here if I want to talk about wealth, and here if I want to talk about, you know, ascension or something. It's like you get to position it the way that you want.
Okay. I love that.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Who is next?
I think it's me. I think Juliana said she wanted to go last.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm just doing drop off with my kiddos. Sorry.
No problem.
Cool. So I have two questions. One's deeper, and I think the first one was just answered a bit. So I just want to kind of get a reflection as I share mine. I run an evergreen offer, and I typically run ads. So to a platform, and then from there I do like a direct sales product. And so I'm kind of switching now to doing more branding and more advertising. And, you know, in a lot of my posts before, it was like a call to action or to speaking to a specific audience that I thought would want that offer. And so I started last month shifting to kind of this overall branding of freedom. So it's kind of this exploration to freedom. And I talk about financial freedom and location freedom and time freedom and, you know, traveling and working from anywhere. And I'm really into like the mind and embodiment and breath work and all these pieces. So I talk about that as well. And so when it comes to, so I kind of have like just on my feed and just in general, like just one day I'll talk about like, yeah, financial freedom. One day I'll talk about time freedom. One day I'll talk about the others. And I'm just wondering if that's like, I don't want to say enough, but that's like cohesive enough for people to really see that this is a whole brand. And when it comes, and I'm talking to like my problem in the past has been I wasn't talking to the higher level person, and I want to start calling in. I want to start launching different courses and programs and calling in that higher level person. And so I'm just not exactly sure if I am yet. I know it will take time, but yeah, so I just wanted some reflections there. And then as I transition from this branding to advertising, especially when I don't have offers, I feel like in my head now I'm like, oh, well, people only know me for this, so they might not even buy when I launch offers. Like I did launch a goal setting workshop that I thought was actually really good. But like just like three people bought it, and it was only $57. So it wasn't a lot. I mean, I understand my audience just might not have wanted that. But yeah, so I'm trying to figure out that transition, like as I shift my branding into the advertising.
So the whole goal with the advertising is it helps people understand who you are. It positions you, right? So if you've been doing something for years, you've been positioning yourself differently than what you're positioning yourself now. This is why the advertising matters so much, because you're literally saying, okay, I used to do this, but now I do this. The advertising is the place where you get to start changing your messaging and people get behind it. Then when it's time for your marketing to change, people have gotten behind the fact that your advertising has been different for a while and they're going to get into it. So when I'm advertising, before I start marketing for Resolution Revolution, I'm going to start talking about everything that I've done in a year. I'm going to talk about how organization has been a difficult thing for me, but I found a method that really serves me, that there's a way that I love to look back at years that really serves me, that I don't do goals, I do energetic projection. Like I'll have conversations that kind of position me as a person where people be like, oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. And so then when the marketing comes out, it's like, I would actually love to learn about that. So what I would say to you is, it's not so much about, am I positioning myself for the right people to buy? It's like, am I positioning myself as I am? And am I putting myself in front of the correct people? So the advertising also means your branding's on par and you're going into the places where you want to be seen and known with the audiences that resonate with you, and you're bringing them back to your brand. So what's possible is just you had an audience that only knew you for what you used to do. So we've got to build you an audience that now recognizes you for what you're doing now, which means when they land on your page, it's got to be clear what you're doing now. And it's totally clear: freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom, like you're really working on freedom. This is perfect. And so you're going to be speaking to that, but we want to widen your audience, because just speaking, it's as if, and I know this is like a silly analogy, but when we're saying like fishing in the same pond, it's like all of a sudden, like these fish have been eating a certain kind of food and you're going to switch their food. And all of a sudden they're not eating it. And you're just like, oh, they don't like it. But it's like, that's just not what food looks like to them. That's not what they eat. And so you've got to either find new fish and feed them what they eat, or that you're going to have this experience. So there is a transition period, but this is why I often recommend not completely ditching an old way, but more so transitioning two things at once. And why the advertising really helps is because you're putting yourself out there in the audiences that are already looking for what you're doing. So you don't need to change your audience. You're just bringing in a new, different audience that's going to be eating the food you want to be presenting. And then things start to just change and it becomes more and more effortless. So you change your brand and you go and speak to this new conversation in as many places as you can.
Okay, got it. And so even if I'm still launching that or running that old offer, it's just weaving it all in together, kind of like you shared previously.
Exactly. Because you're all of it. That's the thing, we get in our heads sometimes. We're like, well, people get it. But it's like, how could they not if it's who you are? Does it all fit together? Well, do you really do it all? Yes. Then it has to fit together. It's like, if we are it, then it exists. So many people want to say, you've got to be so specific. You've got to choose one thing, but it's like, but I'm not one thing. So if I'm three things, then I am three things, but people will be confused. How will they be confused? I'm three things and I'm not confused. Why would they be confused? Like, it's when we're not clear, when we're doing things because we think we should, and it's not really who we are, then we confuse ourselves and people. But when you genuinely are a match for these three conversations, there's a way for them to all work in one cohesive brand because they work inside of you. So there's a way to showcase it that way. And that's what we're looking for.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, so with that, I feel like I lost other piece in that question that I wanted to ask. But yeah, in regards to so with the branding, okay, so even if I'm doing like lives, it's just like different days I can talk about different of the freedom topics, and it all cohesively goes together. And then I didn't really have much engagement before, like I had a bit, and then I feel like maybe once people knew what I was offering, they weren't into it, or the algorithm, who knows, but it like went down. And so now I'm like rebuilding that as well. And so I know you talked about that a bit with Suzanne, but I didn't know if there's like any other piece with that.
So this is really just other people's audiences is the absolute greatest way to do this, because you can build your audience yourself. You can go live, ask people to share, go live every day, tag, use all the features on social media, geolocation, tagging yourself, hashtags, like you can do that. But ultimately, the fastest way to be known by a network that's not yours is to cross-pollinate networks. So this is why I'm so adamant about this, because it is it's a much longer process when you go at it alone. And it's all about collaborations. Social media is social media. So the more joint conversations you can have, the faster you're going to expand that network the way you want it. And then more engagement. Like, I saw you on that podcast. Oh my gosh, I love that episode. Oh my gosh. And then they're reading your stuff and it's exactly what they want because they met you here. They loved it. Now they're hearing more from you. So it's like more alive that way.
Yeah. That leads me to like the next piece of the question. The deeper piece is that I feel like there's this big piece of me that as much as I like see this really big vision for me and I know that I can be doing so much more, there's a really big piece of me that's holding me back at the same time. And it's like weaved into that freedom piece that Jenny shared yesterday. I am a projector and I have been burnt out. So I keep telling myself, oh, I won't have the time. Like I'm just feeling more and more on my plate. And then also the piece of like there's some piece like I will literally speak live to hundreds of people or like lead calls, and I had my own podcast and all this, but getting on someone else's podcast like for whatever reason scares me. Like I'm like, what if I don't know what to say, or what if it's this, and I know I have a lot of value. Like I know I'm one of those who like I've done a lot of certifications. I've learned a lot. I've traveled the world, like all this stuff, but there's some missing piece where I'm just like, but can I really, again, like, can I speak to that higher person? Do I really know what to say? There's just this like missing piece that I keep holding myself back from. And I've said no to things and like kind of shut off things. And now I'm realizing like, oh, well, I just like, thinking, oh, well, I'm just focused on this. But now I'm realizing it was really just holding myself back. And I feel like maybe my nervous system couldn't handle it in the past, but I've done a lot of work on that and I'm ready, but there's still like this, piece.
So remember when I said the advertising is the one that's going to trigger all your crap? Like the advertising piece is going to be the piece where we're like, oh no, the visibility, what if this happens? What if I show myself and then this happens? What if I'm not enough? What if? That's all in the advertising that it happens the most. That's the first part. So it's normal to feel that. And it doesn't change unless you start showing up. That's the problem. It's like, you've got to conquer your fear because everyone's afraid of this. This is why most people don't do it. So you get to a point where you're like, look, even if I stuck to the first 5, I'd get better and better. And then the 6th one would be not so bad. And the 10th one would be good. And by the time I'm done 15, I'd be confident. I've just got to go and start. That's where it's really important. And the other part, the way that I've managed talking about multiple topics is I don't talk about multiple topics all at the same time. And so my platform, my energy, my brand holds so many conversations. But I'm doing Femme Fatale like right now, that coming in February, and I won't do it again for like 12 months. You know what I mean? Like but it'll still be an active part of my brand and what I talk about, but I won't run the program until later. So it could also be, you might be trying to do 3 things all at the same time, instead of saying, these are all part of my brand, but I advertise, market, sell, and deliver them at separate times. I don't overload myself. Because a projector doesn't mean that you can't have different topics that you talk about. It just means that you don't want to be running 3 programs necessarily at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Can you feel the difference in that?
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't just be overwhelming yourself, because it doesn't really matter that you're bringing in a new thing into your brand. That's more visibility. Your posts can talk about those things, but you don't have to be launching 3 things a month every month.
Right. But yeah, I think I'm holding myself back from even launching one thing because I'm just like, oh, the time, like piece.
So is it because you have a job, like a full-time job at the same time, or?
No. I've just been like, I've been running my business, and then I started running like different group coaching programs in the past. And then I got really overwhelmed doing like all the things. And then I went to go travel while I was traveling, and then I was traveling. So then I was like, well, I don't want to add anything now. And now I'm getting a bit more settled. So I like but I still feel there's this resistance because I still feel really like busy throughout my day, even though I have a bunch of systems. Like I still find all these things, or I'm catching up from traveling and just automating my business for a while. So it just feels like a lot for some reason. And I don't know if I'm like making that up, and I can always find the time, but yeah.
I do feel this is one thing, like for those of you who are projectors in this group, I found that a lot of times when people find out they're projectors, they really misunderstand what it means to be a projector, and they start fearing that they don't have the strength to do things. Projectors isn't about having enough strength or having the energy. It's like projectors are actually extraordinary. They're able to focus and do things in an amount of time that other designs can't dream of. Like you sit down and you put your mind to something and you'll get more stuff done in a few hours and it'll take me a month to do, because I'm going to be thinking of a million other things and you're just going to be streamlined in what you're doing. I think what's necessary here is like to really just focus on what you want to do and to compound the energy about what you want to do. Because yeah, Cassie's a projector, Amy's a projector, Jacqueline's a projector, and they're doing huge things in the world. So, and they've all got kids, they've all got relationships. Jack travels everywhere like crazy. She's in Costa Rica right now. Like you get to do it all and have it all. There's just a way, and this could be something to dive in with Amy in human design. Like, how do I structure my thoughts and my feelings around how much I can take on because I'm afraid I'm going to burn out? Where did the burnout come from? Was it because I worked too much, or was it more about the thoughts, the stresses, the things I thought about myself? Like I would actually look deeper, because a lot of projectors use I'm a projector, so I can't. And that's not actually true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that help?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Who was next? Was it Luella, or are we going with Juliana?
I'm just about home, but I'm happy to, if you think you'll have time. to go
Well,
last.
I'll go with Luella first, since you're still driving and it makes me nervous that you're driving.
I'm at my house. Yeah, I just got here. Sounds good though.
Yes. So Luella, you're next.
Okay. I don't even know how to ask this, but if my ultimate dream is to live, let's say 5 or 6 months of the year in Italy, and my skills are in as a therapist, relationship therapy especially, and also functional medicine. Like I feel helping people with their health and their exercise goals is super simple. And then a whole lot of work around self-worth in an individual. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, if I do all of that, but the ultimate goal is for a person to be able to, let's say, emigrate, or not even emigrate, but live 6 months of the year, wherever that might be, wherever their dream might be. I'm just having a little bit of difficulty, not so much in the marketing, but probably in the advertising. Like, what am I actually advertising? And like, I spoke about this a little bit yesterday, these different offers, and maybe because I know it's important to sell all the time. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll do these small master classes on like the first quarter of the year being all about relationships, the second quarter of the year being all about health and exercise, and because you need all of it, right? Like if you're going to land up wherever you want, you need it all. So, but then, I'm thinking, I don't know, like these mini offers of 2 or 3 dates of master classes, like I'm not really feeling that, and it's not really coming through to me, like to want to do that. And obviously people aren't really signing up for it, even though it's only like maybe week 3. But I just like, so how do I advertise myself? What do you suggest for that? Like marketing, I have no problem if it's live every day, I'll go live every day. If it's that to me, but it's sort of like, what am I actually advertising?
So
Like, I want people to look at me and kind of go, oh, that's the one.
So remember when we said advertising is look at me, which means the goal of look at me is, what are you looking at that would make you want to learn more about what I do, and then maybe be a client of mine. So what I see is like, look at me, I'm in this beautiful relationship, or I'm talking about relationships. Look here, look at travel, look at a life 6 months in one place, 6 months in the other. Look at health. Look at this. This is the advertising is showcasing on a daily basis how you embody all of those things, or how you kind of what we were talking about in the beginning, how you represent that emotionally, energetically, visually. So it could be showcasing some of your travels, some of your workout routine, some of your relationship, and then thoughts and Facebook or live streams and reels, like what captivates those things, so that when people land on your page, they understand that that's what you stand for. And the advertising part is going and speaking to other people's platforms about those things. So can you go and speak on a relationship podcast about relationships and how, and I would always bring in more of what you talk about. So your angle, you would go on a relationship podcast, but you'd talk about like being healthy together and traveling the world together, having freedom to live wherever you want in relationship and what kind of life that is. And anybody who's listening to that podcast who hears what you stand for is like, oh my gosh, goes to your page, sees your brand, see that you actually stand for that. Then when you start marketing, it all is listened to from a different lens. It's like, this is the person who's actually living it, so it should probably be the person that I buy it from. So where the branding and the marketing really helps is that you're showcasing everything you stand for, and it's easy to tell what it is when I see your page. And in the same thing, you're going and you're speaking to people that are having the same kinds of conversations as you want to have, and you're bringing your unique approach to those conversations. So people who are listening to those things go, oh, I didn't know this woman, I want to go see. And when they see, they're like, oh my gosh, I love what she's doing. Then they listen, and then they pay attention to your marketing. So it's a two-part thing. Your branding really encompassing everything that you are, everything that you stand for, and everything that you do. And then finding platforms to go talk about those things that are outside of your immediate network to grow your network. That's the advertising part. So you can go live on your own page as well, but what's really going to bring out the network is when you go and speak to other people's platforms.
Okay. I just don't feel like, I just don't know, like, you know, what, I don't know. What is it exactly that, like, how do they know it's me? Like, I'm the person that's going to, I guess it's sort of the end goal, I feel is just a little bit nebulous with the whole, like, you know, health and relationships, and sort of like, oh, and by the way, she also, you know, she wants to live 6 months of the year somewhere else. Like, you know, it's sort of like, it's not like you're scrolling through social media, oh, that's the one. That's the one. That's,
Why
I
not?
feel like I'm
I don't see
missing.
that. I don't see that. I feel like if you were to have on your social media, even if you look at like an Instagram account, if it says, you know, dual location lifestyle, you know, live 6 months wherever you want in the world with your dream partner and live healthy forever. You know, like if it's that's like your tagline or something. And then everything that you're posting is different angles and feelings about that. You're of course that's the one. This is exactly what I want. I want to live in two places. I want to be in the relationship I want to be healthy. Where the heck else would I go? You're the one. It's about really bringing that to life.
Okay.
Is your partner open to like videos with you, pictures with you, things like that?
No.
No?
No.
Not even like ones of you holding hands and you just see the hands of you two holding hands?
Oh, yeah, probably.
Maybe pictures from the back as you're walking along the beach, and the back of you. You might want to just get artistic with those shots. But what we want is to bring you in and bring him in, and it's an artistic thing. You know, it could just be he's from the back. We see your face with your hand on his shoulder, but it's just the back of him.
Right.
Or it's you holding hands, like you want to be creative. It's you holding hands, or you two cheersing in Italy, you know, and you're both your coffees and you're cheersing in Italy. We want to bring him into the brand so that the couple aspect makes sense. We want to have shots of you in the countries that you actually are living in. And we want you doing your lifestyle stuff with your health. Like, what do you do for your lifestyle? What do you do that keeps you healthy? And as you add that, it's going to start to become a full picture.
Okay.
You see it?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Juliana, come on up.
All right, awesome. Sorry for the juggling this morning. I just
Okay.
children drop off time. So you and I had a chat a little bit about what I do, and I guess my question is around advertising. I have this hang up about, so I do investing. That's kind of primarily the program that I sell, this like higher end mastermind around investing and deepening all the things. I feel like in that space, all the investing people kind of like flock together, and I don't really actually want anything to do with that. Like, it's not about investing for the sake of investing, it's about the lifestyle and all the things. But then what you just shared with Luella around showcasing your life. I have little children. I had this really amazing glamorous travel life before. I don't do that as much as that often at this stage, right? Also with COVID and all the things.
Yeah.
So like showcasing my life in terms of, I feel like it's a lot of it is with the kids. So a lot of it is just time freedom with the kids. It's, I don't know, it's having the freedom to work out. Like it's living, I mean, it's just living life the way I want to live it right now, but it's not like, I wouldn't say it's Instagram worthy, really. I mean,
I think you'd be surprised what's Instagram worthy these days.
yeah.
Like, not everybody wants to just live a jet set life. A lot of people just wish they had time to go for lunch with a friend. People wish they had time to walk their dog in the afternoon. They wish there was time for snuggle with their kids in the morning. They wish they could take their kids to the park on a Tuesday afternoon. Like, it really is about you loving your life. That's what makes it Instagram worthy, is someone that can look at you and say, that's exactly the life I want.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have all sorts of freedom in terms of like doing whatever I want to do. I just choose to do the matrix and be on calls most of the day.
But what you get to do and what you get to talk about for you is like, who are you as a person who has the freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do, whether that is invest in your mind, your business, whether it's spend time with your kids or your partner, whether it's travel. You get to have all of it. And it's talking about that and like saying, today I could have done anything, and this is what I chose to do. What did you choose to do today? And do you feel like you had the choice? It's the fact that you have the choice that makes it magnetic, because I think that's what you're really showcasing with what you're doing is through your investments, you've created a life of freedom where you have the choice to do whatever it is that you want, whether it's to educate yourself, whether it's to spend time doing this or that, you have the choice. And so I might take that angle.
Okay.
Because most people, given the choice, might stay in their pajamas all day, stinking up the bed and have pizza in bed. Like, it's not about, it's not even about going out there all the time and doing the fancy thing. It's like, oh my gosh, can you imagine if I had nothing to do? And then this woman has that choice. Like, I want that choice.
Yeah. Because that's the biggest reason why I think it's like what I do is really important, is just to give you choice, give you freedom to do what you want to do and never be stuck because of money. Yeah.
Because
cool.
The performative lifestyle stuff is not more magnetic than the real truth of what you're happy to be doing.
Yeah. So then a question on that, because I feel like the clients that I'm attracting right now are professional women, right? And we spoke about this, like professional women who kind of trade time for money in terms of like lawyers, engineers, doctors, that kind of thing. And so they have a different mindset around money. And even the investment in the program, I think, feels like a stretch, which is one of the things that we work on. So it's not just around investments, it's around like the energetics and deepening all the issues around money and choice. And even when you have money, like living abundantly. Would you have some thoughts, like, do you have some thoughts on like the brand? Is it like the branding that's going to attract a certain level of woman, or is it like the advertising, like the spaces that I put myself in, all of the above?
I feel like it's all of it, because right now it's not clear what you're standing for. So it's going to be difficult for anybody to come find. But the advertising, and what's great about it is like speaking on platforms, you're going to speak about different things everywhere you go. So if you're on a podcast and you're just talking about investments and you want to bring in a certain spin on it, which is like people who don't have money yet that think they need money before they can invest. And so having the courage to learn how to invest is an investment within itself. And then you understand that even smaller investments make sense. And this is what I do. So in the first investment within yourself is the investment to learn how to invest. And then you'll realize how every penny can count. You know, like, let's say you take that angle, you're going to have a certain kind of person. Then you go somewhere else and you're talking about people who finally achieved a certain level of wealth are not wanting to invest. They want to spend it because they've spent so much time having to limit themselves. Now they want their money at their fingertips. They don't want it to be all caught up. So I work with those people to make them understand that they're actually free, not trapped when they're making these choices. Oh, you're going to have a different kind of buyer that's going to come in. So it positions you in so many different conversations that different angles of people are coming in your world. And so when they're seeing you with time freedom, when they're seeing you on a trip, when they're seeing you working on yourself, when they're seeing you, their different goals and their different desires are being pinged for different reasons on your social media, and every part of you ends up drawing in clients. So it's all of it.
Okay. And then can I ask one last question around this?
Go for it.
Advertising on LinkedIn versus on Instagram, as an example, how would you change your strategy for those two platforms? Or would you?
I don't know that it's the changing of the strategy. I think it's because LinkedIn's actually changed quite a little bit from being very, very, very business to being a lot more open-minded. But I don't feel like, I feel like LinkedIn is more like, tell me what you've got going on. Like, tell me what you've got. And Instagram is more like, show me what you've got. And so I feel like when you've written a really great text, put your best image on it with it and put it on LinkedIn. Like, I won't usually put just showy stuff on LinkedIn. I want to make sure there's visual and writing. Whereas on Instagram, I could put a great picture with almost no writing and it would be perfect. I like to have the best image with the best text when I'm doing LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay.
Less posts, a little like less posts, more thought focused.
Yeah. And then the branding images that I showed you when we spoke, do you have some thoughts on, because a lot of what I hear feedback you've given to other women is to showcase you actually like doing things, not necessarily like post images.
The difference though is their careers. So if you are wanting to teach people how to invest, it's not, you can still showcase your lifestyle if you're going to be using that as a marketing. You see what I mean? Like you could use it as marketing, but I don't see how, if your thing is teaching people to invest.
Yeah.
The difference in coaching is that people are looking for a mentor to teach them all about life. It's not just about this, it's about all of it. And so when you're saying, look, I teach people how to invest, there's a different angle to your investment. If you wanted to say, I want to teach people how to,
I feel like it's even more like I think that's for the resistance that I'm having to even like just niching myself as like teaching you to invest, because it's so much beyond that. Like it touches all sorts of, it touches your relationships, it touches how you are with your kids, it touches the permission to, build your wealth versus be a stay-at-home mom. Like it touches all these different aspects of being a woman.
and in that case, you can showcase all of your life. In that case, you can showcase all of your life, because every single thing that gives you freedom, every single thing that you can bring back to, because I learned to invest, I can have this. Because I learned to invest, I can do this. Because I'm not afraid.
Yeah, that's the energy, the freedom to like, I can be in a relationship or not be in a relationship. I can put my kids in private school or homeschool them. I can go off to Paris for the weekend, or I can, hang out in my pajamas for the weekend. I mean, like that's the energy, I think, of like, yeah.
But that's not on your page at all right now. Like I would never in a million years know that you stand for that right now. So this would be like an opening of your brand, and I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I'm all about it, because I really do feel like that's where people connect with us, and they'll even choose, even though there's so many choices, they'll choose you because of how they feel safe with you. And they'll be like, this person may have a bigger portfolio, but this person gets what my goals and my dreams are. So I want to go with this person. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that every single piece of advice I've given to everyone else, 100% lands for you. If you're going to open up energetically and say, I'm standing for a life of freedom through investment.
Yes, that's what it is. That is what it is. Okay.
Beautiful.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. So I want to share something with the group before we end here today, because now we're going to have a weekend, and then obviously, there's still more stuff to come from Amy and Jack, and we're going to move into marketing when we come back into the next week. This is what is the most important part when you're learning all this stuff, is that you don't get into your head about what you should be branding, what you should be advertising, because there is no should in representation, and there is no should in positioning. What we're saying is what I currently represent is, and what I'm currently positioning myself for is. It's not what I should. It's not this pedestal of the future of what I should be doing. It's what is it now? And if I look at it now and I don't feel it's good enough now, then I will change it over time. But I can't, this is why I had you think at the beginning of this mastermind, what is the version of me that I think I need to be in the future? The reason I wanted you to look at this and why I wanted to have this conversation with you about branding and advertising is that the biggest gap and why people have a very big issue is because they're trying to brand and advertise themselves as who they think they should be. And that it doesn't ever feel real. And so what you're missing is all the connection. All the greatness that you already are gets lost in everything between where you are and where you think you should be. All the energy dies. It's very cool. It's very important for us to feel like there's another level of us. If you have that, that's so cool. But what I want you to tap into right now is the fact that you're building this woman, you're building this identity, you're building this person. You're not saying, I've got to be this way for it to work. You're saying, I'm who I am and I'm so proud of it. And I'm building myself into one day when I look at what I've built, who I'm staring at is this person that I know myself to be in my best self. You're creating that version, not pretending you're that version. Can you feel the energetic difference in these two things? The craziest thing about all this, and I realized this as I expanded my brand, is that who you are right now is a much stronger frequency than the concept of who you think you should be. You vibrate the strongest frequency on earth. For those of you who did manifestation equation with me, the strongest frequency on earth is the frequency of truth. And so the frequency of your current identity is far stronger than the frequency of the thought of who you should be at your best. That doesn't even magnetize anything. It doesn't exist. So it's in your truth that you magnetize the most. Even if you feel like you should be more, it's okay, you will be. And by the time you become the more you think you should be, you'll still think you should be more. Now, we've got to dream big in order for these brands to keep evolving, because there is a sad truth about success, which is when you catch it, it's actually harder to keep going. It is better, and this is what I found for all my clients, to give yourself a goal that holds evolution and growth so that you never actually catch the thing you're trying to create. Because the day that you catch it, all of your energy and all of your inspiration, excitement, drive, it does diminish a little bit. It's like the hungry lion who catches the gazelle, and then the lion, once the gazelle is bones, the lion don't move no more. Like we have achieved, I'm satisfied. And so we want to continue with our goals, because when you hit the thing you always wanted to hit, there is a weird feeling that comes with that. It's like, what now? And this doesn't even feel the way I thought it would. So it's what we want is to be living for a full life, a happy life, an exciting life, a grounded life, a safe life, an abundant life, an extraordinary life. And that gets to change as you do. So you can vision cast and say, this is the version of me I'm growing into, but you can't pretend you're that version, or else you never catch yourself and you never are yourself. And then nothing makes sense and nothing really lands. So be who you are right now, with the knowing that you'll always be catching a better version, like running after a better version. And that's going to be the greatest part of your life, is this moment of rising and continuing to become this better and greater person. And you will become better and better as you do it. But don't try to brand yourself as what you think you should be. Capture yourself as you are. And when you look at it, you'll say, okay, here's what I want to change, and then change it. You'll see an evolution. People will feel you. You're going to see a progression. Your confidence will rise. You're going to get to actually celebrate your growth. It's going to be a beautiful thing. But don't try to figure out who you should be. There's nobody you should be. There's who you are and who you're becoming, and that's it. I get stuck on the part where I know who I am and I know how I got here, but what I'm offering is that connected to who I am now. So this is a great thing to ponder. If I market myself exactly as I am right now, do my offers feel good? And it could be that you're marketing something that's too advanced. Like, for example, I see people who make $10,000 a month sell programs called like infinite wealth. And it's like, why don't you call it the $10,000 breakthrough? Why don't you call it something like a new frequency to money? Why don't you call it something that's like, and then tell people this shaped $10,000 months for me, instead of completely eradicate all of your money blocks and skyrocket into next levels of wealth. It's like, what's the real thing? Because you'd be surprised how many people don't believe in, I could have however much money I can, but I believe you can teach me how to make $10,000 and I'd be happy to buy that. So you might want to even relook. You might see fancy stuff from other people and say, oh, it's because they're fancy and their things that it's working. It's like, no, it's working because it's on the frequency of who they are. So you really want to look at what the frequency is of who you are, and what is easy for you to talk about in all of your integrity and all of your strength. And like, it's so easy. You don't need to overthink it. It's just where you are and who you are. It's going to be so much more fun for you. And as you grow and as you evolve, it will all switch and it will all change, but there's space for that. You will become a greater version of you. It'll shock you, but it'll happen for real. It won't be something you pretend to be on the internet. It will be through and through exactly who you are today, and exactly who you are tomorrow, and exactly who you are next year and the year after. And that really is the magic. That really is the magic. But don't you sound like a bit whiny or somewhat pathetic if all you do is talking about your dream when you aren't there yet? You know, they might respect you and admire you, but that doesn't sell. But that's the thing. That's why I'm saying you don't do that. You only do what you're actually doing. You don't talk about something that you don't have. You talk about what you do have. That's how we do it. It's like, I remember when I first started this, I would take a picture of my coffee every morning, whether it was like in a crappy motel, in a crappy hotel room, in my parents' basement, on a balcony of a broken down little Airbnb. And I just celebrated the gratitude that I was grateful for my coffee. That's where I was. I didn't try to pretend I was somewhere else or doing something else. It was like the gratitude for where I am now, the beauty for where I am now. At first, most of my pictures were selfies and they were not great, but that was it. That's where I was. I didn't have the money to do anything else, but it was real and it was true. Now here, we're all more advanced than that to a certain extent. There's an opportunity to do bigger things, but you want to capture yourself in your truth. What is your truth right now? And if you find that actually you're not even utilizing your life as much as you could, this is a great wake-up call. Like, it's wild for me. I could wake up every morning and go for a beautiful walk, or I could live in a different place and I'm just scared, and I could go for a walk on the beach. There's a beach near me. I never go. I could do all these things. Start doing them, then start capturing them. What people tend to do is like, oh, I live by a beach. Let me go take a photo shoot on the beach. When's the last time you went before today? 2 years ago. I never go, but it's a good photo shoot place. You know, that's what we want to try to be careful of is, are you really living this life? Or do you think it's the life you want people to think you live? Because people actually really just want to love their own life. And so when more people actually showcase what their life is as it really is, we're going to change the way people feel on the internet also, which is such an incredible thing. If you have a very lavish life, then yeah, your stuff will look lavish. If you have a really rustic life, that's fantastic. If you have a very simple life, that's fantastic. If you don't even see yourself as part of the reason, like for a very long time, I was not in my branding at all. My branding was more so other things that I saw that I found beautiful. That's okay. Femme Fatale used to be pictures of plants and stuff. Like I didn't even want to be a part of it. It was more so what I saw. I showed people what I saw. Every picture was a picture of Kevin. I was like, you want to know what my life is? My life is looking at Kevin. So here's Kevin. This is my house. This is my coffee. This is Kevin. This is Kevin again. Oh, here's Shannon and Kevin. Here's what I'm looking at on a daily basis. I wasn't even in it. It took a moment until I even experienced myself as part of my life, if I'm being really honest. A lot of my life was about what I saw and how I felt. So I'm going to have you really tap into these thoughts when you're looking at your advertising. You have a unique edge because of who you are. But if you think about what people want to hear, everybody thinks what people want to hear is the same thing, you lose all your uniqueness. It's who you are that makes it unique, not what people want to hear. So bring it back to your exact current thing right now, because that's what makes you unique, who you are right now, not what you think you should be, because everyone thinks they should be the same thing. We completely lose our uniqueness there. You come back to who you are. That's your uniqueness. That's it right there. So that's what we're wanting to be doing at that point. You can write lots of posts about that, Cassandra. I had some women tell me that they haven't enrolled in my relationship offers because they still don't believe Black women can find the love I have. That broke my heart hearing that. That's like, oh my God. That is the most like a Facebook Live about that. This is where going on podcasts and talking about relationships and sharing something like that, like this is part of my purpose. This is part of my why, because we need more people advocating and showcasing beautiful relationships. And I want to be a part of the solution. Like that is your unique thing. Like not only that you have an incredible relationship and not only that you can teach about it, but that someone was willing to share that with you. Like it all became that much more real. You know what I mean? Like, listen, what are people telling you, and why are they telling you and not someone else? What are these things that you know that other people don't know? Someone shared with you and they didn't share with anybody else. Like you are unique and there's something special about you. Talk about those things. Every time you try to do what you think other people need to hear, you're thinking the way everybody else thinks. You'll never create anything unique. It's your lived experience that creates the magic. So spend the weekend really honoring your uniqueness and capturing yourself as you are in the most beautiful, deep, connected, grounded light, because that's what's going to bring the energy towards you, not who you should be, who you are that's evolving. That's your superpower. So enjoy this. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the inner work. And next week we're going into marketing. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be so much fun. Just rev up these vibes, talk about it in the Voxer, give each other ideas. If you've got questions with each other, mastermind, like enjoy this process. It's a really creative process. There's nothing you should be. There's who you are and who you're going to become, and that's it. So enjoy the ride. I love you so much. I'll talk to you soon.